Hi, and welcome to episode 7 with Vila Loukas.
Yay.
We just had a sort of a false...
There we go.
Okay.
We're going.
I forgot to sign. Okay, hopefully this is gonna work. We're getting a few goofs. Okay, and we were talking about what Vila does, and we were also talking about her beautiful spiral fireplace.
Yay! Well, thanks, Erin. House of Healing Center of Light, and I am a healer and a spiritual guide, and I work with people both individually, in individual sessions, as well as teaching classes and programs that help empower people and really strengthen that inner spiritual connection. So it's really about helping people have the highest level of expression of who they truly are. And so, as I was saying before, when we were our false start, one of the tools that I teach is sacred geometry. And so the spiral that you see behind me is something called the Phi spiral, and it's based on the golden mean, and the Fibonacci series. And so that is a pattern that you see all over the place in nature. And when you start tuning into that kind of pattern and the sacred when you tune into those sacred geometries, it becomes a very uplifting experience and strengthening and empowering. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
And then, so how did you get into this kind of work? Like, what was your path here?
Well, I have always been a seeker, and as a young person, I just was always asking kind of those big questions, like, what is it all about, and what are we here for? And I grew up in a Greek Orthodox church and went through various kind of different spiritual paths and different kinds of traditions, and explored a lot of different ways to... I can't tell if it's actually stopping or not. And then I studied religious studies and was really just interested in some of those big questions, and then kind of ended up on my own healing where I had to...
Let me pause. If there's somebody watching live, could you just comment whether we're getting a lot of weird error messages every once in a while? So tell me if we're cutting in and out if you're watching live, and just throw that up there as a comment for me. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no worries. So, yeah, and then I ended up kind of on my own healing journey where I basically entered into this kind of dark night of the soul and had to figure out what was really true for me. And so as I started searching and looking within, I discovered that I loved helping people with this kind of process. And I also discovered the tools that I work with now. And they are very powerful and effective for bringing that inner light in, from that inside and allowing it to come out. So it's like this inner revelatory process. So that's the focus of the work that I do, is helping people with that kind of revealing from the inside out.
The searching, your personal search, and now helping other people going through that process. I like that. And so what are the avenues that you just said you'd work one-on-one, and then you do some like meditation groups, is that right?
I do. So I do one-on-one sessions with people. So they come in and we do some activation work, which helps literally at the level of the DNA flip on more of a truth to who they are, and then I teach methods. So I teach meditation methods. I teach methods for connecting to your higher self and getting guidance and intuition. And
sorry, it keeps flipping out. Again, if you're watching live, just say if we're cutting in and out or not, please. So because we're having so many issues, I'm going to cut to the chase. I know that you are working on a goddess series.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that and what's going on with you right now?
Yes. So I am launching something I call Sisterhood of the Goddess, and it's an online discovery circle. And basically it's for women of all ages and stages. It also has an emphasis as an opportunity for moms to bring goddess work to their daughters. And so for me, getting to know different goddesses from around the world was hugely instrumental in kind of helping me find more of myself as a young woman. And so I started leading, 2 years ago, I started leading a goddess circle for girls, ages 6 to 11, and it's been so much fun. And so basically what I've done is translated a lot of that work into an online platform. So I thought, oh, wouldn't this be a great thing for moms to get to share with their daughters and do a one-on-one goddess date? And then I had so many women who were interested. I thought, okay, great. We're going to just make this something that is open to all women. So we're going to be meeting once a month as an online video conference, and getting to know different goddesses from around the world, and using that as an opportunity to kind of reflect and learn and connect within.
And so you're just so you're learning about the goddess. So, like, for example, name a goddess.
Yeah. So one of the goddesses we're going to work with is the Hindu goddess Durga, for example.
Okay.
And she is a warrior goddess. And so part of her story is that there was this crazy force of darkness, this evil demon that was terrorizing the world, and none of the existing deities were able to handle it. And so they specifically created Durga to take out this out of control force in the world. And so she has 10 arms, and each of her 10 arms has a different tool or weapon.
Okay.
And those were all gifts from the other gods. And so what she teaches us or shows us is about things like resourcefulness. So with these 10 arms and these 10 different tools, for example, one of them is a bell, and the bell is about bringing clarity.
Nice.
And one of the things she holds in her hand is a conch shell, and that's about bringing peace. So the tools and weapons are not necessarily all about fighting and killing and things like that, but rather like, oh, in order to take out this force of darkness or this force of evil in the world, sometimes you have to just cut through and create clarity and peace. So she also teaches us about taking action and holding boundaries, which are definitely things that are important in the world of
I was
self-care.
just having a conversation with someone about boundaries just this morning.
Yeah.
Such an important aspect of self-care, I think, as women. I know for me personally, and I know for a lot of women, just we give and we give and we give. And at some point, it's too much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, really starting to understand where is that line? Where is the line where that boundary needs to be held? And knowing that you're doing it for the greater good, that it's not just, it's not something selfish. It's not something that is going to take away from somebody else. I think sometimes as women, we think that that's, and especially as moms, we think that that's, oh, if I take care of myself, then somebody else loses out. Well, that's actually not true at all. When we take care of ourselves and we hold that boundary around like, you know what, that's not actually good for me. When I do what's best for me, it's actually what's best for everybody involved.
Yeah, I like that. What's the metaphor with the pitcher? Like, you have to refill your own pitcher in order to pour out. Otherwise, you can't, you can't fill other people's cup because you're empty.
It's so true. And, one of Durga's magical tools is a pitcher.
Oh. Well, there you go. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So what else? Vila is located in Linwood. And what have you learned as far as being an entrepreneur? How long have you been an entrepreneur, I guess? And what have you learned personally? And what would you have to share with other people who are considering being an entrepreneur?
Wow, that's a great question. So I've been a practitioner of the healing arts for over 15 years now. And there's different levels and ways of working, especially in the healing arts. And I think, in the last probably 3 years is when I really decided I want to put my work out in a bigger way.
Okay.
And finding that right balance, finding that right, I'm very much about discovering the way, discovering that right point. And when all the pieces kind of click. And as a mom and as a practitioner and as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, there's so many pieces, right? And so it kind of feels like constantly doing this giant juggling act or working this huge puzzle.
Yes, I'm there. I'm working on the pieces right now.
So I work a lot with that kind of inner insight and really feeling in the work that I do. One of the things that we teach about is as within, so without. So it's really about your inner world is what allows for your outer world to really find harmony. And so, so if something's not quite clicking, that's when I know it's time for me to go.
Time to look in, not without.
Exactly.
I'm going to take that advice.
And then also believing that there's always a higher path. Like there's always a way for it to work. And sometimes it may not be obvious, but when the passion is there, when the drive is there, when the desire is there, the way exists. And it's just, sometimes it's a matter of just allowing it to kind of, again, reveal itself. So that's...
I love what you're saying, especially because I see that Stacy is watching us. Hi, Stacy. And I know she's also an entrepreneur and she has different avenues. So I'm personally just reflecting on her journey as well, and knowing that all these, it's all clicking for hopefully for her and for me.
Awesome.
Well, what else do we have to share? Did you have any last words or things that you want to share about that you have to offer?
I'm really excited to be launching. This is my first time with an online platform, so I'm really excited to see how we can create a network of and this sisterhood, because part of what I think is challenging for us as women and also as moms is finding good ways to really connect. And it's easy for us to feel disconnected. It's really easy for us to feel isolated.
Yes.
And so having this sisterhood, this circle where we know there's other women who are also on a similar journey, and that we can learn from one another and we can learn alongside one another. There's something really, 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 really important about that. And so I'm really excited to be getting to facilitate that kind of an opportunity for women who are interested, and plus getting to know different goddesses from around the world it's fun. We use a lot of stories, artwork. So one of the things I do is in the online video conference, we go through a slideshow presentation with different representations and images of the goddesses.
Okay.
And so it becomes this kind of like, ooh, what am I drawn to, and how do I like this way that she's represented? And I try to get a spectrum, so we get to see a bunch of different styles of how to, so it's also about self-expression.
Oh, that's nice. You really wound it all together. I like that. And I like, about the community. I know that I feel, so often in our lives we're so disconnected, going about in our cars, doing our jobs that need to be done, or being at home and doing that, and missing out on, knowing that at one time in history, we maybe were doing that together as a group. We were maybe pounding grain together as a group, or we were maybe doing the laundry together as a, because it wasn't something where you just stick it in your washing machine and then fold it by yourself in your house. Hopefully get around to folding it. And, it was something that, a group of women would go down and tell stories and talk and laugh, and as they're, washing and pounding and whatever, dyeing yarn. Absolutely.
And learning from one another. I think that's one thing, you're asking about entrepreneurs and I make the commentary about being an entrepreneur and being a mom kind of simultaneously, because in a lot of ways there's a lot of parallels. And, it can be very isolating for both of those roles. As a mom, it's like sometimes you feel like you're just overwhelmed with all of these tasks that you're 100% responsible for and managing. Same is true as an entrepreneur. And so I think, as you were describing back in the day, when we lived more kind of, in an integrated way, we were constantly learning from one another. And so there was that kind of direct influence, that direct impact where, as a mom, you would have already been around, moms who were going through that stage or phase with your child. And so it wouldn't be such a shock. It wouldn't be such a like, oh my God, what's happening? It would be like, oh, right. I remember, so-and-so had that. Or if you didn't know, you hadn't seen it, then you would know somebody to talk, you'd be like, hey, wise grandmother, tell me about this. And they'd, be able to make those connections.
Or you maybe would have been around people breastfeeding your whole life.
Exactly.
And it wouldn't have been like starting from scratch.
Right. And so, then if there were those obstacles or challenges, it would have been like, oh, right, this is part of normal, instead of like, we have to be constantly educating ourselves because of that isolation about what is, quote, normal in both of these worlds, in the world of being a mom and in the world of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And Vila also is going to be doing something on radical self-care, which I'm excited to learn about. But right now it's the goddess, so we're just kind of focusing on that. But stay tuned, because that will be also coming. That's in the works.
Yes.
And she will include some links in the comments.
Yes.
So thank you for being with me and with us.
Yeah.
And,
it's great
and
to
with
be
Stacey
here.
and Jennifer and everyone who else watches later.
And just since it's easy, I'll say my, so the Sisterhood of the Goddess, if you want to check it out, it's goddesssisters.org is the website.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.